which brings us to the most comprehensive bill as far as people interested tonight. Chairwoman Williams is in the room. Chairwoman Williams, if you would come forward. I'll introduce it briefly as you come up. It's an act related to motor and other vehicles, operators, and chauffeurs' licenses. It would provide that driver's license would be given or allowed to apply for to undocumented immigrants. Chairwoman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I love that green. See, it matches my...
Thank you very much.
See? And members of the committee, good afternoon. This legislation allows the Rhode Island Department of Motor Vehicle to issue driving privilege to licenses and driving privilege permits to individuals who are unable to establish a lawful presence in Rhode Island and the United States. Have you know, for the most part, I've been coming before this committee for years. Unless you know an individual's status, you would not know that they were undocumented. We have neighbors, many of us have neighbors, that without knowing, you would not know that they were undocumented. They're loving people, they comply, they're there just like any other person in the neighborhood. The purpose of this legislation is to ensure that all drivers on the road are knowledgeable of traffic safety laws and the safe operation of motor vehicles. This legislation is strictly about the safety of everyone on Rhode Island's road, whether they're legal residents or undocumented residents. These driving privilege licenses and permits are not, however, the equivalent of a regular Rhode Island driving license, and there are several safeguards that have been put in place within the legislation to highlight the differences in privileges. Applicants must provide reliable proof and documentation of their name, date of birth, and place of birth from various different acceptable documents such as a foreign birth certificate, a valid foreign passport, or an expired passport for no less than 3 years, or a valid foreign driver's license with the international driving permit. It also requires 2 forms of proof of a Rhode Island residential address, such as a utility bill or a letter from a shelter or halfway house. It also requires certification from the tax administrator that the applicant has filed tax returns with the state for the past 2 years. An affidavit must be filed with the Department of Motor Vehicle attesting that an application of legalized immigration status has been or will be filed as soon as possible. Applicants must apply and conduct all renewals in person, as well as are subject to all education and tests involved with driving privileges. A driving privilege license holder is unable to apply for a chauffeur's license. Also, the driving privilege license and permit are not valid for federal or state identification purposes. They cannot be used if the applicant has been convicted of any felony in this or any other state as well. There are also safeguards in place to eliminate discrimination against driving privilege license or permit holders, such as it cannot be used as evidence of citizenship or immigration status, and it cannot be used as a basis for criminal investigation, arrest, or detention. And it will be illegal to discriminate against any individual because they hold or present a driving privilege permit or license. In conclusion, this legislation is about driver safety on our roads. Everyone needs to be tested and know the safety protocols to keep every driver safe on the road, whether they are documented residents or not. It's an ongoing situation with regards to driver's license being allowed to undocumented our neighbors. Just think for a second. We are in the midst of a pandemic. And I say amidst because still for some, it's still a beginning. For many, still struggling. And for the privilege, they're making through. To get to some of these sites, to get the help, is very daunting. Not having an opportunity of driving legally is an issue. You may have access to a vehicle, but you don't have a license. In this time that we are all faced with and dealing with, just think about those individuals right now. Think of the hardship that they're enduring. Just for a second, we who have access to almost everything, just think for a second, put yourself in their shoes for a second. How have they been getting by? How have they been making it to the clinic? It's really something for us to think about. But it's time, as I have mentioned, that we are in a crossroads of change, and it is time. And this can happen if you all, we all, want and are ready to make it happen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, the boss. That is my testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are there any questions from committee members? Looks like we have Representative Baptista.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, acting as Chair. I want to thank Representative Williams for putting this bill forward. This has obviously been a topic that has been at the State House for several years now. I just want to add one little anecdote in terms of my experience as an attorney who practices mostly in criminal defense. Several years ago, I was happy to see that the state was successful in essentially, on the topic of driver's licenses, decriminalizing the first 3 offenses before even the first offense of driving without a license was a crime. Why does that matter? Because sadly, in some communities in our state, people become known to the police. And when I was a public defender, it was not uncommon to see these folks who were undocumented charged and recharged with driving without a license that they couldn't get. And so this bill would help fix that problem. And I just, there's a lot of reasons why it's unfair. I think Representative Williams did a great job outlining that. But I wanted to add that experience about what happens in the district courts when folks are, the first fine was $250, and the second offense would be $350, and then the third offense would be $500, and then after that, you start talking about probation and criminal punishment. So it's a very serious issue. There's tons of layers of unintended consequences, and my summary is I appreciate Representative Williams for her leadership on this issue, and I enthusiastically support this bill.
Thank you, Representative Baptista. Any questions? Any other questions?
May I say something else too?
Oh, certainly.
Just
Madam Chairwoman.
Keep in mind that this matter before you right now was also a promise that Gina Raimondo had made to the community as part of her campaign, that she would do this through executive order. And the last I had spoken with her before she had decided to abandon Rhode Island, both her and Brett Smiley, and they threw it to the House of Representatives saying that if the House passed it, she would sign it. Unfortunately, the House did not make the promise as she did. Now that she's gone, once again, we have the opportunity to fixing the wrong and fulfilling the promise, the broken promise that she made. So I needed to put that on the record.
Yes,
Bye,
thank you,
Felicia.
Chairwoman Williams. And I think as well, this is high time we do this. It's a good bill. And we've heard some very compelling testimony over the years. And how many years have we heard this? I think every year since I've been here, so.
How many years of that you've been
I'm
here?
on year number 6.
Okay, so try at least a decade, but let's not go for 17 like driving while black.
Well, thank you for putting it in, and I think you'll get some support from the committee just looking at the faces here today. So, and I believe Representative Felix wants to speak.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I just want to also express my support for this legislation. And just reminiscing, sitting here, right, I've come to the State House previously testifying in support of this legislation for years. And then now being on the other side and being able or have the opportunity, hopefully, to vote on this legislation means a lot to me. And I just want to say to Rep. Williams, thank you for not giving up on the community. You've been a fierce advocate in fighting for this issue and many more issues. So I just want to say thank you. And I really do hope that this is the year that we bring it up and that we vote on it and that the House just passes it, because it impacts all of us. I don't know if any of you have been into an accident with someone without insurance or without a license. It is an unnecessary headache. So for the benefit of all of our community members, all of our residents, I really do hope that this is the year that it passes. Thank you.
I think there's no downside to it. I mean, now that we have President Biden, I think that things will get better for undocumented persons. And I think that there was a concern with our prior president that, could have been, we could have had problems with this bill, but I think now I don't see any reason why we can't move forward with this. I don't see a downside. Anyway.
There wasn't a downside before President Biden got in here. It was just a perpetrating of a fraud, period. Because it didn't need to have a good president in order for us to do good legislation.
You're right. Thank you. So with that, I guess we'll start going through the witnesses. Our first witness is Letitia Salazar. Letitia, are you with us? I hope I'm saying your name right.
Yeah, it's Neek Taha, but I am with you guys.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Hello, thank you for hearing my testimony today. My name is Neek Taha Salazar. I'm a voter in Providence, Rhode Island, and a public school teacher in Central Falls. I'm speaking right now strongly in favor of House Bill 5205, which would grant driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants. I work in a city that is primarily composed of immigrants, and I see how necessary it is for folks to have access to transportation. I mean, the reality is the world we live in, most people need to be able to drive to either have a job and make money for their families, go to doctor's appointments, take care of their children, go grocery shopping. All of these things people need cars to do because of the way our systems are set up in our society. So really, like, the issue right now, right, is like people need to drive. How do we make it so that people who are undocumented can drive legally so they're not breaking the law, right? For our safety, for everyone's safety, we want to make sure that the people who are on the road or people who have been trained to do so can legally do so, and that it won't interfere with their ability to provide with their family. So I speak strongly in favor on behalf of my students, their families, and my family members who are undocumented, that people be able to legally get driver's licenses so they can, legally do something that's essential to them.
Well, thank you very much, Nikicha. I think I said it right this time, for your testimony. Any questions from members of the committee? Thank you again, and seeing none, we go on to our next witness, who is Katarina Lorenzo. Katarina, are you with us?
Yes.
You have the floor. This is House Judiciary.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon, members of the House Committee on Judiciary. My name is Katarina Lorenzo. I am the director of AMOR, a coalition of Rhode Island grassroots organization. I'm calling today to talk about the importance of the bill H 5305, Bill for Undocumented Community in Rhode Island. In our experience, one of the most common requests we get through the AMOR support line and in our office is to help people in the undocumented community with transportation, especially women with children, so that they can go to important appointments and meetings. And as everybody knows, also, like, public transportation in Rhode Island does not provide good and timely service in all of our neighborhoods. Most people depend on a car as a primary means of transportation. We have seen the importance of driver license to our community. People need to get around, but they don't want to break the law or drive without insurance. Many people who would otherwise buy a car to be more independent and productive cannot because they don't have access to driver license. That's why this issue of pressing importance for all Rhode Islanders, for the general safety of our roads, and in particular for undocumented families in our community who need to get around. Undocumented families need to be able to drive to the doctor, bring their kids to school, buy food at supermarket, enjoy a beautiful afternoon at the park or beach, go to worship of their church, and visit their family, friends, and in general just participating in the community. Especially now, during the pandemic, transportation for undocumented families has become much more difficult, as it is no longer safe to share rides because of the virus. This is not just a simple inconvenience, but has compounded the challenge of life and making a living during an already challenging time. That's why I'm calling, and of course, in name of our community, I ask that you vote and in favor of the bill H5305, and that's why I'm calling. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katarina. Any questions for this witness from the members of the committee? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Andrew Poyant. Andrew, are you with us?
I'm here.
You have the floor. This is House Judiciary.
Hi, thank you. Hi, my name is Andrew Poyant. I am a resident of Providence. I'm calling in support of House Bill 5305, which provides licenses to our undocumented neighbors and residents of the state. I've called in support of this bill in the past. It's been proposed multiple times now. We already have 16 states and the District of Columbia that already is doing this. This is nothing new. Anyone who is calling in opposition to this bill, all the concerns that they may have already been addressed and have already been solved by other states. It's a simple way to make sure that everyone who is driving has a license and goes through the same process and makes driving and pedestrians and cyclists safer for everyone, because we are assuring that everyone is taking a driver's license exam and is passing it and getting a license. In neighboring Connecticut, once they passed this law, they saw a pretty significant decrease in the number of hit and runs, as well as a decrease in other accidents. And specifically, they saw an even larger increase in cities where there are higher populations of undocumented immigrants. And so I support this bill. It makes common sense. It's the humane thing to do to allow people to drive and be able to go where they need to go. And it will make roads safer for all of us. So I hope that this year is the last year that I have to testify on this, and I hope that you move to have this to a full vote of the House. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions of this witness from any members of the committee? Seeing none, we're going on to our next witness, Rebecca. Oh, Linda Katz? Linda Katz is our next witness. Linda, are you with us?
I'm with you.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Vice Chair McEntee and members of the committee. And I have to say, I'm so thrilled to hear you say that this is a bill whose time has come. So I'm Linda Katz. I'm the Policy Director of the Economic Progress Institute. I just have a couple points to make, just to amplify on the previous speaker who stated that 16 states, District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, have enacted driver's license laws for undocumented folks. I just want to point out that this is really a wave, and Rhode Island really needs to join the wave of other states that are doing this. New Jersey, New York, and Oregon passed this law in 2019. Last year, Virginia became one of the 16 states to protect immigrant drivers, and all of us, as has been said, if everybody has a license, we're all safer because people know the rules of the road. And also just sort of piggybacking on the previous speaker in terms of the Connecticut experience, I submitted written testimony that both links to the a study that was done in Connecticut, which documented the decrease in hit-and-run crashes, particularly among communities where there were large numbers of undocumented. I think the other point I want to make, besides all of the reasons that we should do this for humane reasons, is the fact that in Connecticut they realized $7.5 million in licensing fees over the 4 years after the law was enacted, which was offset just by the $300,000 that was required to implement the new program. And it also helped with policing, that officers who pulled the driver over who didn't have a license had to process that person. It took the officer out of commission for an hour or two, but if the person has a license, then they can just issue a ticket if somebody is not driving according to the rules. You hear the testimony from folks about why this is so important from the standpoint of the individual. I would just say that certainly COVID has taught us that we're all one family, we're all interdependent, and we need to just pass this bill as an absolute fairness issue to support all of our neighbors, regardless of their status. Thank you for hearing my testimony.
Thank you, Linda. Any questions from any member of the committee? Seeing none, we'll go on to our next witness, Miguel Sanchez. Miguel, are you there?
Yes.
So welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Hi, good afternoon, committee members. My name is Miguel Sanchez. I'm here as a Providence resident, community advocate to testify in support of Bill 5305. I also support Bills 5652 and 5734 that also support immigrant rights. I would like to first thank all of the sponsors on all of these important bills. Providing driver's license for all, regardless of immigration status, is something that is very dear to my heart. As a Mexican-American Providence resident that lives here in the Mayton neighborhood, I have a lot of friends and neighbors that unfortunately don't have a driver's license because of their immigration status. Not having a driver's license is something that causes a lot of unwarranted stress and anxiety to my neighbors. A driver's license is vital to completing everyday tasks such as being able to take your kids to school, to go to work, to go to the grocery store, and sometimes even just to find employment. A driver's license would certainly provide a lot more opportunities to communities that are marginalized already, even so more now that many of them didn't qualify for unemployment benefits or the stimulus checks during the pandemic. There are 17 states that already have some form of this bill and law, and I believe it's now time that Rhode Island follows suit. Lastly, I would like to give a big shout out to all the community members and local organizations for all the work they have been doing here in Rhode Island and across the country in fighting for this piece of legislation. Thank you for all your time, committee members.
Thank you, Miguel. Any questions of Miguel? Seeing none, our next witness is Jonathan Goldman. Hello, Jonathan. Are you with us?
Hi, yes.
This is House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Goldman, and I am calling in support of House Bill H5305. I'm the executive director of the Student Clinic for Immigrant Justice, which trains students to provide free legal services to asylum seekers and organize for immigrant justice. And we have many students that we've trained at Brown University and who are representing asylum seekers in Rhode Island right now. And I'm calling in support of this bill because for us and for the clients that we work with, limiting access to driver's licenses also can limit people's access to justice. It's the tool that people need to be able to get to work, to pick up their children from schools, to getting to meetings, to going to the beach. But in addition to it being a tool for people to be able to just live their lives, it's also something that has been shown time and time again that when people have access to driver's licenses, it also improves public safety, makes people more likely to report when there's an accident happen. When people have insurance, they're more likely to not have accidents that they leave from, and has a big benefit all around for that reason. But in addition to that, there's also the economic benefits that come from it, people being able to more readily take different jobs that may require transportation via a car. And then also from a health perspective, particularly right now during the pandemic where people have to be getting shots, making sure they're able to get to the doctor, and where also public transportation right now can be dangerous for many, this also ends up being a public health issue as well. And we've seen time and time again from talking with their clients issues that they have with public transportation or just needing the flexibility in their lives that comes with having a car, that it is a necessity for so many of the people that we work with. And we're grateful for the work that so many other organizations like the Immigration Coalition of Rhode Island and more and so many others have done leading on this advocacy. And we hope that Rhode Island, too, can join with so many other states in being a champion on this issue, too. So I thank you all, and I hope that we can see this bill pass this year.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Any questions of this witness? A lot of good points being put out there today. Like I said before, I don't see any downside, but that's just me. Next is Daniel Denver. Daniel, are you with us?
Yes.
Yes? Hello?
Can you hear me all right? Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello? Is that Daniel?
Yes. Can you hear me all right?
Daniel?
Yes. Hello? Hello?
Daniel, turn your TV down, or maybe a mute button is on, or turn your volume up. We can't hear you.
Let me try. Can you hear me now?
We're starting to.
Okay. Is now okay?
No, a little louder.
Okay, I'll speak loudly.
Oh, there you go. All right,
Okay.
welcome to House Judiciary.
Thank you for having me. Apologies. My cell phone service is a little spotty.
No problem.
My name is Daniel Denver. I'm a co-chair of Reclaim Rhode Island, a grassroots statewide volunteer-powered organization organizing for social and economic justice across the state. I'm here to ask the legislature to finally follow through on a long-delayed and very basic measure of justice that needs to be delivered to Rhode Island's undocumented immigrants, driver's licenses. Our state depends upon the exploitation of undocumented workers to build our homes, cook our food, clean our hotel rooms, and care for our sick and elderly. And yet the state of Rhode Island treats them as though they are only workers and not as full people, not as our neighbors. Our corporations exploit their work, but then our government denies them the right to legally drive to work. That puts them in jeopardy of arrest, and those arrests put them at jeopardy of becoming entangled with the federal government's huge deportation pipeline. It's really disturbing to me that Donald Trump's brazenly anti-immigrant presidency wasn't enough to already make this happen in Rhode Island during the Raimondo administration. 16 states in the District of Columbia have enacted laws already to allow undocumented immigrants to obtain driver's licenses. Rhode Island right now is way behind. We need to fix this now, and I urge the legislature to take steps to do so. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Daniel. Any questions for this witness from the members of the committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to Eduardo Sandoval.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Ashley, she already testified, I thought. Is she? I've got her. Okay, fine. Hello, Ashley, are you with us?
Hi.
Hi.
Okay.
Welcome to House Committee on Judiciary. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for hearing me today. My name is Ashley Gomez. I live in Providence. As I mentioned earlier, I'm an active member of Sister Fire. I'm also a public health scholar and practitioner, and I'm here in support of House Bill number 5305. The importance of a license for undocumented immigrants has become even more apparent now during the pandemic. Those who rely on public transportation put themselves at an additional risk to be exposed to the virus, and so many folks in the community rely on others for driving and help with transportation to meet their basic needs. Over the past year, Sister Fire has been engaged in mutual aid work that's required us to drive members of the community to obtain their groceries, get routine medical care, and obtain their medication from their pharmacy. Curbside pickup is not an option for when you don't have a license. So I'd like to share a brief interaction I had recently with an undocumented woman who lives in North Providence, someone who Sister Fire has been assisting through our mutual aid work since the pandemic started. She and her family began to feel sick and were concerned about possibly having COVID. When I quickly looked up nearby testing locations for her, there weren't any walk-up locations near her available for several days. When I asked her if she had a car, she responded by saying she can't obtain a license due to her status. She relied on Sister Fire and neighbors in order to meet her basic needs during this time. More people will engage in public health safety practices if you give them access to a driver's license. Giving undocumented immigrants access to licenses would even help us during the vaccine rollout, giving people more access to drive up vaccine locations as we look towards the future. And so thank you all for being here today, for listening to me today. I think we can make a big step towards addressing health disparities by pushing this forward and also bring us one step closer to beating the virus. I urge you to vote in favor of 5305. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. And you're absolutely right. The more people who get vaccinated, the quicker we'll get back to normal. So thank you for your testimony. Next, we have, any questions from members of the committee? No, hearing none. Sorry, Edie. Representative Aiello.
Madam Vice Chair, I just would like to point out that scrolling through some of the documents the committee received on this legislation, the DMV is supporting this, saying they can do it. They would need more employees to handle the heavier load of request for these licenses, but they can do it, and point out that they can learn from how Connecticut and other states have done it. So,
thank you for that, Representative Aiello. That's a very good point. Representative Casimiro.
I just want to thank Representative Agello for pointing that out. During this pandemic, it has been incredibly difficult to have verbal testimony, and written testimony has been flying in. I think it's been neglected on so many levels. So thank you, Representative Agello.
Thank you both. Good point. Very good point. So, and like you said, Edie, Connecticut is a prime example of how they made so much money in the long run, even though it cost them in the beginning. So, no, the time has come, I say, but. Next, we have Eduardo Sandoval.
Eduardo?
Eduardo? Are you with us?
Sí.
Yes. Welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Okay. ¿Qué es lo que dice?
Que estabas ahí conectado.
Okay.
Go ahead. Are you ready to testify?
¿Estás listo para?
Sí. Yes.
Well,
I speak Spanish and translate other person. Okay.
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 Very good.
Mi nombre es Eduardo Sandoval.
My name is Eduardo Sandoval.
Soy el presidente de la Asociación de Vecinos de Olney.
Is the president of
Presidente de Vecinos de Olney.
Association of Neighborhood of Olneyville.
Mi apoyo es hacia las personas que necesitan una licencia de conducir.
He's taking a support for all the people who need a license.
Porque son trabajadores esenciales.
Because they need to go to work.
Eso hace posible que los productos, o sea, los vegetales, la comida, sea más barata.
And that makes the produce we consume, it's going to be cheaper.
Porque al no haber estas personas trabajando, arriesgándose todos los días manejando las carreteras,
if we don't have those people who are working for less money, then everything is going to be too expensive.
Lo que vemos que en las carreteras de Rhode Island,
And we see that in all the roads in Rhode Island,
Connecticut
y
Massachusetts, que es donde se encuentra la mayor parte de nuestra gente trabajadora,
it's where we find all the Spanish workers.
Es por eso que nosotros apelamos hacia una licencia de conducir.
That's why we are looking for them, the driver's license.
Para que los productos de primera necesidad sigan siendo económicos.
Because we need all the products, it will be more cheaper for all the people.
Y recordemos también que el beneficio económico que va a tener el Estado.
And just to remind you that all the economic issue, it's going to help to the state too.
Porque las personas van a renovar su licencia y ese tiene un costo.
Because all these people, it will renew their license and it's going to be more money for the state.
También al mismo tiempo las calles son más seguras.
And also all the roads, it's going to be more safety.
Porque todo el mundo tiene su seguranza y su licencia.
Because everybody is going to have their own license and insurance.
Así que ya los otros más factores económicos yo sé que lo aportarán.
So all other things and support.
También el beneficio de la familia llevando a sus hijos a las escuelas.
And it's going to be beneficial for all these people because they can take to their kids to the school. And it's going to be more safety for them.
Esperamos el apoyo en esta legislación.
And we hope all the support from all these people.
Porque es muy importante contar con el apoyo de ustedes.
Because it's very important to have your support.
Ya que estamos hablando de personas que son esenciales para la economía del Estado.
Because we are talking about all these people which are very essential for the state of Rhode Island.
Eso es mi participación el día de hoy.
And that's all I need to say.
Thank you, Eduardo. Any questions for Eduardo from members of the committee? Seeing none, we'll go on to the next witness, Rodrigo Pimentel. Rodrigo, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good evening, Chair McEntee and the House Judiciary Committee.
Good evening.
I am the Rhode Island National Committee representative for the Young Democrats of America. I'm also a dreamer who has lived, worked, and studied in our state for the past 23 years, so I really appreciate this opportunity to testify on this bill.
Great. So proceed.
Yes, so in 2018, I shared my story with fellow Rhode Islanders, the General Assembly, and local media in an effort to advocate for DACA recipients like myself who are in jeopardy of losing their driver's licenses if the program ended at the federal level. Thankfully, our state acted and passed a law ensuring that DACA recipients would be issued driver's licenses regardless of future federal policy, protecting 1,400 Rhode Islanders like me. That moment, where I introduced then Governor Gina Raimondo at the bill signing, showed to me that there is power when people come here to testify and share their stories, that committees like this one here do listen. Now, with House Bill 5305, our state has an opportunity to build a more equitable future for all Rhode Islanders. We're in the middle of a global health crisis. Undocumented immigrants have worked in essential roles throughout the pandemic, working in industries such as medical and food services. As we work to heal and rebuild America, we must not leave behind essential undocumented workers who have sacrificed their health in keeping us safe and essential economic industries running. And not only will this help undocumented workers that are part of our essential labor force, but this will also benefit our state. According to a report published by the Latino Policy Institute in 2016, allowing Rhode Islanders to earn a driver's license, regardless of their immigration status, would result in over $800,000 in additional revenue to the state. The Division of Motor Vehicles echoes this, stating in their own written testimony that the anticipated annual revenue from issuing these licenses would be $856,000 per year. Considering this, I urge the committee to recommend passage of this bill. In doing so, Rhode Island would join 16 other states and Washington, D.C. in offering driver's licenses for all. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Rodrigo, and thank you for hanging in there with this legislation. I remember seeing you before. So, any questions of this witness? Seeing none, we'll go on to our next witness. Susili Urillo. Hello, Susili, are you with us?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Isabelli Murillo, and I'm a constituent. But I'm not only a constituent. I'm an immigrant mom who came to this country when I was a little girl. Why do we need the licenses? Well, for me, it will represent having a better job, a better living for my kids, and not being afraid of driving. I don't drive right now, and I'm not able to do anything I want because I don't have a driver's license. Also, I would love to pay taxes like you people complain about it. I would love to pay for them because it helps our community. I'm a community leader as well, as an advocate, and I'm going to advocate to whatever rights need to be heard and wherever you need a voice because I'm tired. I'm tired of this being discriminated for not having a driver's license because it wasn't my fault. I'm tired because I'm a human being just like anybody else who is in a free country like all of us claim. And we come to this country for the dream. And having a driver's license for some of you wouldn't be nothing important, but for people like us, it's a dream come true. And it opens doors, opportunities, and better jobs. But at the same time, it will bring revenue to our city. Why? Because we will be able to pay in taxes, buying cars, paying for driver's license, paying for tickets, paying for insurance. So let's be smart about it. Let's be conscious, but at the same time, let's be human beings about it because there is families involved, there is kids involved, and none of us had an option to be whether we needed to decide to be or not in this country. So right now, all we're asking is for an opportunity to just be like the rest of you. Thank you, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all. Have a good night.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you as well, Susili, and thank you for your testimony. Hopefully this will be your year.
Amen.
Any questions from any of the members of the committee? Seeing none, our next witness is Isabelli Garcia. Isabelli, are you with us?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm good. Hi, good afternoon.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Isabelli Garcia. I'm Dominican. I'm undocumented. I've been living in Providence for 20 years. I got 2 sons. I'm a single mother. My husband passed away back in 2012. And this is my third time testify about this bill, and as a single mother and as me representing my community, like I know as a lot of single mothers out there just like me, we always struggling, and it's important for us to you guys pass this bill for us to give a better life to our children. Maybe to go to an appointment will not being scary, or to a park. One of my sons want to play football, but it's difficult for me, to take him to practice because I got to pay Uber, or I always got to ask for a ride or something like that, Then sometimes I don't want to break the law, but like, as for me, as a single mother, and I have to go out there and do anything to provide for my kids, sometimes I do have to drive, and I don't want to break the law no more. I'm always scared to drive because, like, I know I understand if I get pulled over, it's going to be hard. But all I know for me, and as a many single mother out there, if you guys can do us a favor so our children can have a better life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Isabelli. Any questions for this witness from the members of the committee? Seeing none, we'll go on to Fernanda Poyant. Fernanda, are you with us?
Yes. Hi, sorry.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
All right. So my name is Fernanda Poyant. I am a resident of Providence, and I'm writing in favor of the bill that's looking to give undocumented immigrants driver's licenses. I just think that, if you want to be more, if you want people to be safe on the roads, then it's probably a good idea to have them go through the driving test, the licensing exam. I think that people are driving without the license because they need to go back and forth from work. We don't have, a good public transit, although I wish we did. We don't. So we know these people are driving out there, and we know it's unsafe because, they don't have a license. They're not paying for the insurance. So I think it would be a good idea to implement the law that would qualify people without documents to get their licenses, that would generate revenue for the state, through insurances. It would make the roads safer. There's many other states in the country that have been doing this, and they've seen less incidents of like hit and run. Just all around, I think it would make our roads safer for our children, people working class, people that, sometimes can have access to a better job just because of transportation. So, I think there's a lot of data out there from all the other states that have done it, and they have had positive results. So I think Rhode Island would benefit from following in their footsteps. And that's it.
Thank you, Fernanda. Any questions of this witness? Seeing none, we'll go on to our next witness, Taylor Ellis. Okay, Juan Garcia, are you with us?
Hello?
Hello, Juan. Welcome
Yes.
to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. I will say my testimony is it's very important to pass to Bill on 6503 because a lot of people, undocumented people, is working in the first line for a food restaurant and many things we can do to help to the people take a food. And a lot of people, have a driver license. Sometimes we pay $100 or $200 a week for somebody give it a driver license. They give it right to the job. That doesn't happen as the owner to the job. As we have to take advantage with those people, with the undocumented people. That the other thing is, it's very important to drive a license for the economy to the state because a lot of people We want to take a driver license for make a companies, make a business, and a restaurant, and everything. That's very important to the bill 6503 we pass. I'm a support that bill, especially for the economy of the United States, for security on the road, for Rhode Island is going to protect the human right for the people.
Thank you, Juan, for your testimony.
Okay, thank you.
Were you finished?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Any questions of this witness from any member of the committee? Seeing none, we'll go to Allison Trull. Hi, Allison. Are you with us?
Hi, yes, I am.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Allison Trull. I'm a resident of Providence, Rhode Island, and I would like to express my strong support for House Bill number 5305. I work as a clinical therapist that works specifically with Spanish-speaking populations. I'm bilingual English and Spanish, and I work specifically with teenagers and their families. I believe that this bill would allow clients of mine and their families better access to their appointments that are important for their health. So that would be appointments to see their doctors or specialists, or for therapy appointments as well. And for some of my clients, these appointments are life or death issues. They could be related to chronic illnesses, like HIV, hepatitis, cancer, diabetes, you name it. They could be life or death issues that they need to get their appointments, and they don't even know how they're going to get there. And I've seen this time and again. I also have a lot of families who can't get to appointments with me that I would love to see them have the ability to. And I also believe that these licenses, or the ability to even get and apply for a license, would allow these families and individuals to get their basic life needs met better. They could get to the grocery store to go grocery shopping. For those who have kids, they can get their kids to and from school when needed. I would like to invite any of you who are parents yourselves to try to imagine what it would be like to be a parent with no car. It's really hard to think about how you're going to get kids to extracurriculars, to appointments, to what have you, without a car, without a license to drive a car, sorry. I also believe that this would allow people who are working to be able to get licenses to get to and from work. So undocumented workers make up a large part of our frontline workers working essential jobs right now during this pandemic and putting their lives at risk. Many work jobs that are inconvenient hours and work for low wages, and then they have to spend money on taxis and rideshare apps that just sap their wages more. And finally, I believe this bill is important because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and people need to be able to transport themselves to all the places they need to go without being required to take public transit or carpooling because of safety and health risks. We've seen time and again, too, that people are carpooling with each other, and it's causing the spread of COVID-19. And also taking public transit on crowded work hours can be a health risk as well for many people. I really hope you'll do the right thing and pass this bill. There are currently 15 other states, the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, who have already allowed driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants, and I hope that Rhode Island can join that group of states and do the right thing and pass this bill once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Any questions of this witness? Seeing none, we'll go on to our next witness, Diana Arugio. Diana, are you with us?
Hi, yes, this is Diana.
Diana, well, welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Honorary Madam Vice Chair and committee members. My name is Diana Araujo, and I'm a resident of Providence, and today I would like to express my strong support of House Bill number 5305 that allows driver's licenses for undocumented people in Rhode Island. As previously mentioned by other constituents and community members in support of this bill, unfortunately, our public transportation system does not provide a good or timely service in all of our neighborhoods. And driving is the best option for most people to get around in our state. This is a mobility need in order for us to get to school, to work, to do groceries, to go to the bank, and many other tasks that we have in our daily routine as Rhode Islanders. This bill, or versions of this bill, have been introduced year after year, and it always fails to pass. As a youth advocate and adult ally who has worked with many immigrant youth or children of immigrants, I deeply think of the opportunities young people in mixed status families cannot access or get to because their guardians don't feel safe to drive them there. I think about how this year widens the gap for all youth and families in Rhode Island to access the same as those who don't have to worry about the external fears or have to worry about possible family separation. I support this bill because it's more than licenses. It's about active members of our community that contribute to the economy, who deserve to be seen and deserve to drive our roads safely. It's about a safer roads for all of us, and also for a little sense of relief for our neighbors, our youth, and other people very close to my heart. Thank you for listening to me today, and I kindly ask you to think of our roads, of our youth and their families, to also think of our neighbors, and I ask you to support the passage of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Any questions of this witness? Hearing none, our last witness is Evan Rozinski. Evan, are you with us?
Yep.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Thanks. My name is Evan. I live in Providence, Ward 13. I'm testifying in support of HB 5305. I'm in favor of driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants. I believe all Rhode Island residents and families deserve mobility and safe roadways. As it stands, public transportation does not provide the timely service that is needed in all neighborhoods of Providence. And this looks to become even more so the case in the near future with recent city moves to convert Kennedy Plaza and to crack down on alternate transportation modes such as ATVs. So people's options for mobility are limited, and we need to take action to reverse this trend. Undocumented families need licenses to buy cars so they can drive to the doctor, bring their kids to school, buy food at the grocery store, enjoy our beautiful parks, go to church or visit family and friends, and participate in their communities. So I call on the committee to pass House Bill 5305 for the good of our community.
Thank you, Evan. Any questions from any member of the committee from this witness? Seeing none, that concludes all the testimony, except I do know that Representative Place would like to make a comment.
Well, not a comment, just a general question. It's not necessarily a comment on the legislation itself, but on follow-on issues. People who qualify for these IDs under this legislation, and this could be my ignorance on the subject, can they qualify for automotive insurance? So they can't, but I know, so that's all I was wondering.
Williams, why don't you...
Yes, they would qualify for automobile insurance. In addition to that, the automobile insurance companies also was in favor of this. So it's not an issue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Representative Place. And that concludes our testimony on House Bill 5305.